So, what does it actually mean to follow your heart? We hear this everywhere on the radio, in songs, in children's TV shows, in movies, rom-coms. We're always hearing this idea of, oh, you have to follow your heart. My name is Jennifer Van Wyk, and I'm a psychotherapist, a humanitarian, and a best-selling author. And this video is all about how you can follow your heart, what it means to follow your heart, and how you can really make that a part of your daily practice in a way that isn't irrational or impractical. I'm all about, as much as I absolutely love emotions, the best way we can operate is when our brain and our heart are connected and on the same side. So first of all, following your heart is very different than obeying your emotions. Our emotions are illogical, obviously. They're magical, but they can come up out of nowhere. They can jump up on you. They can also be not really very based in reality. They can be a product of maybe some negative or harmful or limiting beliefs that you might have, or they can just be a product of your biology, right? So as much as emotions are super important and often are a great messenger and have something that you need to learn or hear about them oftentimes, they're not necessarily how you follow your heart all in and of themselves. So like I said, emotions, I see them as kind of like signposts on the highway. If you're depressed, maybe there's some reason why you're depressed. Maybe it's because your chemistry is off and you need to go to a doctor and get that balanced. Maybe it's because you're in a horrible job and your life's not being fulfilled. Maybe it's because you're not eating correctly, right? There's I don't always know what it is if I haven't talked to you, but often my job is to work with people so that they can figure out what that meaning is of that signpost. What is it saying? Because it's really important that we do take some time to listen to what it's trying to tell us. There's usually always something that's very important for us. One example is actually, it's a really close to my heart example because it was a really powerful moment for me. And this was when I was thinking of whether I wanted to accept a deployment to areas controlled by ISIS. And in this deployment, I would work with women and girls, specifically helping them recover from some of the atrocities that they had undergone, and also helping communities to heal from some of those atrocities, and also try and prevent those atrocities from continuing. As we know, ISIS is not super ecstatic about white Western women. So I was very aware of the practical danger that I was in. I was a white Canadian woman going to work with women and children. That's like top of their hit list, really. Actually, it's not really, but yeah, I was very aware that it was a very dangerous situation. Additionally, as humanitarians, one of our core principles is neutrality. We're not for one side or the other. We will serve anybody who needs assistance, and we serve people based on their vulnerability and their imperative need for assistance rather than anything else, right? So I would serve ISIS women as much as I would serve women not associated with ISIS or women that had been harmed by ISIS. And part of that neutrality also means that we don't have the same security blankets, if you will. So we're not allowed to have, unless it's really extreme circumstances, we're not allowed to have arms. Certainly no guns. There's no military escort. There's no way to protect ourselves technically because we are outside of the conflict. We just want to serve the most vulnerable. We're not getting involved in the politics of the conflict whatsoever. So even going into these dangerous areas, I can wear body armor, but that's it. There's no other way that there's maybe security or safety. So that's also something I had to really consider. And for me, my heart was really scared, really petrified. I love going into chaos. I love being there for people that I feel really, really need to see, to be loved and to be seen and have compassion, or have someone have compassion for them. This is my jam. But I was really scared that I might have to, I might honestly be killed if I did this. And so following my heart wasn't about listening to that fear, which was quite overwhelming. It was about going in and doing the heart connection visualization is how I did this. Doing that heart connection visualization and speaking to my heart and hearing that she was absolutely petrified. Why the heck are you going there? Why do you need to do this? Right? Feeling that fear, listening to it, and then also taking that time to explain to her that for me, what's really important, and I always get really emotional when I talk about this, but what's really important is to be that light of compassion in some of these places where people haven't felt that in a long time or haven't experienced that. And try and be embody love as much as I humanly can in my human foibles. And that is, for me, worth everything. So yeah, I just explained that to her. And then that brings me, that brings me to the second point. And that's that following our heart means we have to take care of our heart first, our emotions first. And so even though I connected with my heart, I listened to her fear, I listened to her panic, I then explained to her why I was going to make that my decision to go. I ended up working there for 2 years, by the way. And so I explained that to her. And I just want to really highlight that those emotions, they were one source of information, but then my beliefs or my desire, my purpose of life, that's another source of information. And then I get to decide which is most important. And for me, my purpose in life is so much more important than what my fear was saying to me. And so even though it was more important than what my fear is saying to me, I still needed to, and this is point 2, I needed to take care of my heart. And so when I left for that deployment, I really just had that image of me just holding the hand of my heart as we go into this really crazy situation, right? And being able to take care of your heart is what gives you that strength and that power. I'm a highly sensitive empath, and people always talk about, oh, you're too sensitive, and they don't say that to me, but you know that concept of, oh yeah, someone's so sensitive, they can't handle difficult things, right? And here I am going into one of the most difficult situations that I could have personally gone into. And even though I'm a highly sensitive empath, the reason why I can go into war zones or epidemics or natural disasters or places where just death is everywhere and surrounding me, and pain and suffering, is because I take that time to take care of my heart. And I do that regularly. And so following my heart is listening to my emotions and then also taking care of my heart when she feels those emotions. So yes, she's scared. I understand the reason for fear. I will comfort her, and I will also still go anyways. So for me, that's a really important distinction. Following your heart doesn't mean just oh, I feel this way, therefore it's true, right? Just like you having a belief about something doesn't mean it's necessarily true. It's just a belief that you formed because of various reasons in your life. And there can be other information that maybe will change or shift that belief or evolve that belief, right? So following your heart is listening to the emotions you have, taking care of your heart so that you have the strength to follow up or follow through with the decision that you made, right? Which leads me to the third thing, and that is taking responsibility for your decisions. So often, maybe you follow your heart and you are so in love with somebody and you decide to move to another country. I have done this, right? However, when I did that, I made sure that I took responsibility for my desire to move to this place solely for this other person, right? I had to continuously, even after I moved, I still had to remind myself that I moved to this place not for them. And this is really important. I didn't move to that place for them. I moved to that place because I wanted to be with them. So it was my decision. When we do things for other people, it can really create this resentment. Oh, I did this and this for you and blah, 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 blah. And then it's kind of this checks and balances that you're keeping track of, right? And they owe you because you did this, right? Whereas if you take responsibility, like I didn't want to live with the regret of not trying or of ending the relationship or not trying to make it work. And so therefore I decided that I wanted to move there for this person, or this person was so important for me that that was my priority. And therefore I'm going to do this and this because this is my priority, right? Or I love this person so much and therefore I'm going to, it's a priority of mine to try and do what I can to make them happy. But that's your decision. It's not you didn't do it for them. They didn't make you do it. You need to really take responsibility for that decision if you want to avoid resentment building up on either side in the future. So that's the third thing in terms of following your heart, is take responsibility for whatever decision you make. If it doesn't work, that's no problem. You don't have to beat yourself up. It's just, okay, well, I'm glad I tried. Now I can go back to try something else. Like now I have more information. That doesn't work. Now I'll try this, right? So taking responsibility for your decision is a really important follow-up step. The last thing I do want to say in terms of following your heart is often this idea of following your heart can be confused, or not confused, sorry. Following your heart is also another way of saying following your intuition. And your intuition is something different. Intuition is like considered this deeper level of knowing. Maybe it's your high self that knows something a little bit more than maybe your conscious self knows. And so it's kind of thought of to be the most high level of outcomes. I really listen to my intuition a ton. I'm really lucky in that oftentimes my intuition is very vocal. And so I use it every day. And the more and more you learn to listen to your intuition, the stronger it gets and the easier it is to hear it. That's not something that's covered in this video. I do dedicate the first chapter of my book to understanding your intuition and the 4 different ways that it can speak to you, so that you can kind of have more faith of, is it your intuition talking, or is it an emotion talking, or is it fear talking, or is it your mom talking, right? So yeah, what I mean by following your heart is more listening to your heart, listening to what it says, comforting it, using that information of what it says to make your own decision, and then giving yourself the strength and taking your responsibility for the decision you make. And that is my interpretation of how to follow your heart. Please let me know what you thought of this video, or if there's any suggestions you have, or any experiences of where following your heart has led to wonderful outcomes, or perhaps not wonderful outcomes. Leave any comments in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please like or subscribe. Thank you.